Look at him! His little tiny arms and legs. Naked. Okay. Hey everyone, I'm Yana, welcome to my channel. Today we are playing Shakespeare's Code, Season 1, Episode 8. So let's begin. This fellow is wise enough to play the fool, and to do that well craves a kind of wit. Play. So we are getting ready for a masquerade, if I remember correctly. Shakespeare's Code, Episode 8, 12th Night. The parchment reads, Love. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Once upon a time, his voice was stern. Father, you willful child, how dare you toy with your betrothed? He would be wise not to cross me. I wouldn't have allowed it. It was a mere formality, and yet you've defied even that. What are you always scribbling over there? Is it poetry? No, father, you're mistaken. It's... He snatched the sheets of parchment from my hands and tore them to shreds. Your gift, if one can call it that, will soon betray you. They will find out about you. I must prevent it. You know far more about this gift than you admit, father. Why won't you tell me everything? The less you know, the better. Alas, I have tried many things, but I cannot take any risks. Tomorrow you'll go somewhere that knows how to handle such matters. Where? Where they can cure such things, where the willful are tamed. Shitty father episode here. She was dreaming about it. Present. The toad regarded me with a stern gaze. Are you truly planning to turn me into a human and yourself into a man? There's no other way. I must make my way back into the forest, but women are forbidden there now. Let's change. From Elsa cosplay. Maybe something like that. Yeah. That's fine. I must make my way back in the forest, but women are forbidden there now. Disguising myself as a man will make it easier to outwit the sheriff's men. And you will be my eyes and ears at the masquerade. Yeah, the masquerade. Fine, as you wish. Ignoring the toad's grumblings, I picked up the book Aurora had given me. Flipping through its pages, I searched for anything that might stand out. It felt more like a collection of legends about witchcraft. It seems to be the wrong thing once again. My eyes skimmed over the next page. Destroy the sorcerer's tools, be it the quill with which they write their spells, their parchment, or their grimoire. Yeah. I think the quill is mentioned more and more in this story, and I think the artifact is exactly a quill. A quill, parchment. Why are you yelling? Are you obsessing over poetry again? Look at this, read what it says. I held the book out to him and he read it carefully. What an educated toad we have. Do you think the Puritans had a reason to despise sports? I think that the strange verses I've been recalling are no coincidence, and that the parchment scattered across the city is the mischief of a sorcerer. Shakespeare might either be under his power or working with him, or he is one of them. And the artifact, or are you planning on becoming the next Joanne? God, no. No poetry, no wickedness. And bring Edward to my bedroom, quickly now. Henry, what the hell? That sharp tongue of yours will end up under Joanne's skirts one day if I hear anything like that again. The artifact might be a quill and a book. I said it's a quill. I said it some episodes ago. The sheets of parchment were deliberately torn from that book. Perfect. Now I'll need to steal Shakespeare's quill as well. But the quill would then need to be studied. Maybe it's Edward's quill. And when in the previous episode the toad Henry said that the artifact is somewhere in the forest, not in Edward's trousers. It might have been really in his trousers, because he was reading in the library and holding a quill or something. So he might have been quite right. The artifact could be in Edward's trousers. I don't see another talented poet around here. What about Christopher Marlowe? He seems more of an actor than a poet to me. Shakespeare returned to Stratford, and that's when all this began. Or just like in Alan Wake 2, there's an evil twin of Shakespeare who is scratching, like Mr. Scratch, the antagonist in Alan Wake 2, and rewriting the stories. Shakespeare returned to Stratford, and that's when all this began. Perhaps I'm mistaken, but I can't believe my poetic talent simply happened to awaken, and in this city of all places. So you think the quill might have belonged to Ralph's ancestor? But he certainly wasn't a sorcerer, was he? True, but he did manage to imprison M. Either the quill was already enchanted at the time, or it fell into the wrong hands later. So she just says it as a fact that the artifact is the quill? If it's even the quill, that is. I have no other theories for now. That's basically my only theory. Okay. My other theories you can check in the video up here. I'll show this book to Ralph tonight and ask him some questions. Does it mean you'll be free soon? If M doesn't come up with something else. And you? The premium choice will allow you to learn more about your companion. The toad got lost in thought. Let's learn more. His past. It was long ago. How long I can no longer recall. A young man, his tone confident, stared directly at me. And if you cannot do it yourself, then take the form of a crow and save her. Help her. Call her Juliet, and she'll understand immediately. That name, I couldn't mistake it. I couldn't forget it. Being a crow was far better than being a disgraced toad. And so I took flight, heading for the place where this Juliet was surely waiting for me. The acrid stench of fire filled my beak, and I hesitated. I saw a burning pyre, heard the shouts of a crowd. It burns well. Tomorrow we'll finish her off. Tomorrow it will all be done. Her? I flew forward, searching, desperately trying to find Juliet. My feathers reeked of smoke, and my heart ached for the one who had helped me, saved me, so that I could save her. I called loudly, calling for Juliet, but I never found her. Who was she? Had they truly burned her? And what was the name of the one who'd pleaded with me? Mercutio? Hamlet? Romeo? I couldn't remember. I'd forgotten. And from that day, it seemed I could no longer feel free in the body of a crow. You've learned a little more about your toad. So there was a Juliet, and they also people said she was a witch and burned her. Deciding that the toad wasn't in the mood for a heart-to-heart talk, I shrugged and began settling in for sleep. The next day. As you know, you'll need to wait here for me again. I'll try to find Ralph. He's usually in the library around this time. As you wish, Raw. Smiling at the toad, I left my room. That's cool. The path to the library was peaceful. Neither the groans of the possessed nor the shouts of Rogers and Henry disturbed me. Henry is the other. Henry, not my toad. He's an NPC. However, a familiar creaky voice still managed to stir my emotions. Oh, here we go again. Another shit show. Joanne seemed to have forgotten that she had burst into my chambers the previous night. Hello? Or merely pretended to forget. And where are you off to? Not your business. A good day to you too, Joanne. Path of the Curse. As you are aware, I am tutoring a young girl named Aurora. You are well acquainted with her mother, I believe, who, as I've heard, is recovering. And what does that have to do with your presence in the library, my lady? She spat out the last word as though it were venom. You're placing far too much weight on my visit to the library. The library is the best place to search for books, don't you agree? I stepped closer and met her gaze. Or perhaps you're searching for something else here, or someone. Yeah. She's sure searching for Edward. Teaching is my duty, and I will not neglect it simply because your heart burns with suspicions or jealousy. What nonsense. Yeah. The solid tomes, bound in elegant covers, they're both cold and warm. You long to touch them, to be alone with them, don't you, Joanne? Burn. I won't interfere. You have every right to be suspicious of me, Joanne. How dare you speak to me like this, your title means little here. Are you sure about that? Would you like to test it? Test me, bitch. Suspect me if you must, that's your right. I would likely do the same. I am a stranger here, a nobody in this town. While you love it with all your heart. But is it the town I'm speaking of, or Edward? Yeah, and you were not speaking of tomes, warm and cold. It was a metaphor for, I don't know, Edward's fight. But at the same time, I am trying to move forward after my husband's death and fulfill my duties. However, I will not tolerate such a tone from you. Here we go. Period. Yeah. She seemed to swallow her words, recoiling. But soon enough, she composed herself. You strike me as peculiar and haughty, and yet, at the same time, it seems you truly mean to help. You weren't frightened by what you saw within these walls, and you were the only one who managed to calm Othello. The Earl of Leicester trusts you. She said it as if trying to convince herself aloud that I could be trusted. At least for as long as I was under the Earl of Leicester's protection. That's how it always was. If you had a patron, accusations were far easier to avoid. Exactly, I assure you, romantic conquests are of no interest to me. I am here solely out of duty and of heart. Should I scrub the floors? She didn't so much as think to apologize for the night before, and I made a point of pretending I had forgotten it. In that moment, at least. Joanne is attempting to be polite with you, for the time being. She wasn't very polite when she bursted in my room yesterday. In an hour, in the ritual room, you will assist me with Christopher Marlowe. Being late is not in your best interest. Of course. She spun on her heel and stormed off, but I was already anticipating the trouble that remarkable woman would cause. Okay. Your move, Joanne. The library was quiet, bathed in soft sunlight. It seemed to be woven from linen. I didn't often go there during the day. Two men I knew well were speaking softly to one another. I didn't even try to listen in. Ralph and Edward. What's with this hairstyle? I don't like it. Change it. Moving as quietly as I could, I sat nearby and pretended to be absorbed in the book I'd brought along. For a few minutes we didn't disturb one another, but then... Good day, my lady. Good day. Good day, my lady. Good day. How different they were from each other. Ralph looked at me with a smile, while Edward seemed to look through me. I've brought a book from my pupil Aurora, an intriguing piece. I thought it might interest you both. I assume you're referring to the book you've been reading? How observant you are. Then again, you are a tutor. As are you? Ralph seemed unsure what to make of our polite exchange. Then again, perhaps he too had noticed Edward's excessive attentiveness. Your pupils are fortunate. Every tutor should pay close attention to what their young and impressionable minds are reading. Perhaps. Edward fixed his gaze on the pages. A curious book. Where did the child get it? It was a gift from Joanne. She gave it to Aurora's mother. Joanne never ceases to surprise me. If only you knew how much she desires you. No, shit. Look, Ralph, see what's written here. Edward slid the book over, and the priest buried himself in its pages. Remarkable. Where did Joanne acquire this? What has you so surprised? You see, this is one of my ancestors' treatises, so the letters, like, I don't remember them. It seems he recognized his name in those letters. I knew it. But there's no mention of an artifact, unless... Are you certain? Yes, absolutely. My father told me about it. My great-grandfather, a renowned inquisitor, used this book for years to educate his children. Afterward, it ended up in the hands of some aristocrats. Edward's smile struck me as odd. He seemed to know something, but chose to remain silent. Maybe not so much aristocrats, but cultists. And AJ knows something about it. As if he were either unwilling to share a secret or savoring some hidden knowledge. Both, perhaps. Edward. What do you think? Joanne didn't tell you about this book. What do you think? You clearly have something to share with us. I think Joanne found the book here. She must have simply taken it from my family's library. My uncle, Claudius Pembroke, dedicated... Was it CP? No. It was... H... Wait. WH, I think. Yes, it was WH. So it's not his uncle. My uncle Claudius Pembroke dedicated much of his attention to matters of the Inquisition. I'm sure he still does, from where he currently resides in London. Remarkable. And how is it that you didn't follow in his footsteps? Life has its twists and turns. Would it be too bold of me to ask if I might borrow this book for a time, my lady? I should have seen that coming, and he might not even return it for all I know. Or he might tell Joanne about it. Still, I had to find a way to get closer to Ralph, so I had no choice but to feign agreement with everything. Of course, this book rightfully belongs to you, to your family. I'd argue otherwise. I didn't realize you were so proud of your family's heritage, Mr. Edward Pembroke. This is Ralph's ancestors' work, yet you intend to return it to your library? Not at all, my lady. Don't accuse me of being miserly. My lady, Aurora would surely be heartbroken if the book were to disappear. But while it's in your possession, would you mind if we studied it together? This is exactly what I was hoping for. Naturally, I couldn't voice my thoughts aloud. Did Ralph trust me so blindly, or was he testing me as well? Either way, it didn't matter. His knowledge would help me uncover more, find the artifact, and finish what I'd started. I'd be delighted. We buried ourselves in the book, poring over it line by line. Ralph paused every so often to explain something, and I listened intently. My ancestor believed a sorcerer's power could be sealed within an artifact. There were rumors he even succeeded in doing so himself. Perhaps with Morgana herself, if of course she ever truly existed. Oh, she does exist. I'm getting closer to what I need. Then I suppose your family still has the artifact he used. I've never seen it myself, nor have I heard of such an artifact being in our possession. But knowing my ancestor's cunning, he could have hidden it so well that no one would ever find it. Ralph smiled. It seemed he didn't take the family legends so seriously. Edward watched us, but it was as though he wasn't really listening. His motives remained undecipherable, unclear. But I had our memories, and my smile reached the depths of my soul. I remembered his alluring stern gaze, his attempts to scold or reprimand me. Yet it always felt as though those rebukes weren't entirely serious, not with full conviction. There was clearly something more between us than mere suspicion. My lady, won't Joanne be waiting for you? A cold, stern question. It was as if he were once again building a wall between us. She will. You're absolutely right. Ralph, would you like to keep the book for now? No need, my lady. It was gifted to you. I imagine we can continue after the masquerade. Will you attend? Oh no, not at all, but I do hope you have a pleasant time. Until we meet again, my lady. You've grown skilled at sending me away. Until next time. Okay. Sometime later, in the ritual room, it was just Joanne, Christopher Marlowe, and me. The so-called possessed man lay there, staring at the ceiling, paying no mind to the old woman. He needs to be bathed. By me? By you. He called for you. You made quite the impression on him. Knave? Well, if I left such an impression, perhaps he'll also be impressed by a cleaning rag. I thought I saw Marlowe wink at me. I picked up the rug, dipped it into the basin, and pressed it to Marlowe's chest. He gave no indication of stirring, playing the part of an idol-possessed man, until suddenly... Look. He whispered it, gesturing toward Joanne, who had once again fallen deep into thought. They've taken all, I fear, and veiled the truth. But he will come again, of that I'm sure. Return to seek the one who holds the proof. Oh, Joanne, will they come knocking at your door? She's afraid. What is he speaking of? And why is in your presence? I don't understand. I truly didn't understand yet, but I believed Marlowe was trying to help me. Meanwhile, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. It was so forceful that I let out a genuine cry. He's having another episode. I'll call Rogers. He will not aid. You know. They've taken all, but he'll return to take what's his. Be silent, silent. Her eyes darted about, and she was more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. Shame that I couldn't use too much magic right then. But I could use her sin. Joanne, let's stir some shit. I took her hand and looked into her eyes. In that instant, the woman's lust poured over me like molten lava, pulling me into the sticky, feathered depths of her thoughts. I saw a man before me. Oh, who could have thought? He seemed to reach toward Joanne, yet I felt it was all meant for me. It was as if we were back in the library once more. Well, this will make it even easier for me. I directed my magic inward, commanded the illusory Edward to do whatever he desired with me. Whoa, that's interesting. It would all reflect onto Joanne. Whoa, why her? Why her? I've missed you. His voice grew more familiar, deeper, warmer. An illusion. He would never say such a thing to me, never like that. Strong hands pulled Joanne into an embrace. She will lose her shit. And I saw her immediately wrap her arms around him. Oh my lord, I've waited so long for this. This one is having fun. Be silent. He pressed his lips to hers in a fierce, ravenous kiss. What? So forceful that a bit of blood appeared on her lip. Oh god, chill, chill. That kiss had been meant for me. That man was meant for me. In that moment, the suspicion, the walls between us, all of it shattered. It became a game for the lustful old woman. I watched as the vision I'd created caressed the desire maddened Joanne. Oh my god, look at her. She's having the best time of her life. I make wishes come true. I don't curse people. I make their wishes come true. I play on their... and I don't play on their sins, on their wishes. The old woman clung to the fabric of his doublet, as if trying to assure herself it wasn't a dream. Then her trembling fingers reached for Edward's breeches, but he simply turned away. I could have continued. They would have gone much further, but for some reason I didn't want that. Yeah, even a vision couldn't act like that. After all, he was Edward Pembroke, the arrogant, pompous tutor. But perhaps the truth was simpler than that. I wanted his passion to belong to me first, and only then, if I allowed it to someone else. Yeah, he kinda already kissed her before you, so... Are you playing with Joanne's fantasies or your own? Don't know. Joanne, tell me, what is it you're so afraid of? She heard my voice as Edward's, and she obediently murmured her response. My lord, I was younger then. I didn't know, but Cecil, how could anyone refuse him? He commanded me to watch. to keep an eye on everything happening here. On a boy, but I don't remember the boy's name, or I don't want to remember. What did he call himself? I think it started with an R, something with R. I don't understand why it was so important to an advisor of the Queen. Okay. The boy wasn't alone. There was someone else with him, but I've forgotten. All the strangeness began when the boy met that man. It was as if it were magic. That's when I went to the library and found that book from the Inquisitor. Forgive me, Edward, but I can't remember. Will Lord Cecil, the second most powerful man after the Queen, punish me? Please don't abandon me. I can't bear you children, but I am ready to give all of myself to you. Kind of feel bad for her a little bit. You'll give yourself when the time comes. Never. Magic. R. There was a mage here once. Someone they treated. You've learned more. A commanding male voice cut through the room. Rogers. What is going on here? Take care of Marlowe. He's having another episode. Rogers nodded, and Christopher smirked oddly, apparently having already resigned himself. My lady, I don't think we belong here. I nodded, and we left the room. That was something. The tension between Joanne and me was palpable. The old woman would surely be watching me closely, but I wouldn't let her lead me to ruin. The balcony? The days flew by, and the masquerade was soon only a day away. Surprisingly, nothing strange or terrifying had happened so far. Once a grim Puritan stronghold, Stratford had, for a time, become a theatrical stage. I stood by the balcony. I had returned to it, trying to understand why there, of all places, I had spoken verses I couldn't possibly have known. And beside me stood William Shakespeare. What an extraordinary place. Strange, how could I have overlooked it before? How often the truly beautiful remains hidden from our eyes. I stumbled upon it purely by chance myself. And if in that very moment the lines seemed to flow through me, along with the name, Romeo. Romeo? A beautiful name. Perhaps one day I shall write of such a character. You shall. And who would he be? A love-struck young man longing to be with someone forbidden to him. To craft such a tragedy, that is my dream. But for now, I am writing of jealousy and pain. It's nearly finished. The husband will kill his wife, unable to endure the shame. And it will become reality once he's written it, like Othello will kill Desdemona. How grim, yet honest. What inspired you? It came to me as though in a dream. Things like this only happen to me here, in this town. London doesn't inspire you the same way? Alas, nay, try as I might. There is something special about Stratford for me. Something that drives me to create. And he's not happy about it. Well, he says it. Because maybe someone forces him to create. A magical forest, a magical quill. The forest is indeed inspiring, though I've not ventured there some time. As for the quill, it's simply a common instrument. I received it in my youth from my father. Yeah, I don't believe that. Or maybe it's not, the artifact is not his quill, but it's a quill. My father, in turn, received it from someone important, given as a keepsake. Perhaps all of this inspires me too. Or compels you to write things that later come to life. And suddenly something came to my mind. I remembered my father, his forbiddance, his scoldings. My sister was to be wed, and he had threatened to see me married next. So you have a sister, okay. My intendant was loathsome to me, and I had resolved to play a trick on him. My father called me a willful shrew, and feared that my gift had begun to stir. But was I punished? Alas, that I could not recall, as though some unseen hand had swept it from my mind. Well, somebody has rewritten your story. The Taming of the Shrew. That's the title of one of Shakespeare's plays. How many of us shrews are there? Who inspired him back then? You're beginning to remember something important. How do you feel when your plays come to life on stage? Pride and fear. I fear I'll never write anything better. But tomorrow I won't fear. Let my plays distract villains from murder and instead bring love and warmth. Thank you for showing me this place, my lady. I've enjoyed our conversation, but now I must go. Thank you, and I'll look forward to our next meeting. Life in Stratford increasingly resembled a play, and I felt as though I had been living as an actress all those years. That's because it is a play. And you're not an actress, you're a character. I had to believe in myself to make others believe. I couldn't afford to remain detached, to simmer with anger, or to merely observe. I had to pretend to start anew and to serve M. Well, my starring role was still ahead of me, and soon I would play it. We'll see about that. The next day, evening drew near, and with it the long-awaited masquerade. Come on! For the event, one of the estates would temporarily transform into a true palace, a place untouched by murder and darkness. I stood over the grimoire and, untouched by darkness, I brewed a special potion that would temporarily turn both me and my toad into men. Let's go! Henry, are you sure it will work? Yes, it cannot be otherwise. The recipe was intricate and time-consuming. Some ingredients had required days to steep. Fortunately, preparations for the ball weren't quick either. I stirred until the potion turned the desired color. Taking a clay bowl, I scooped the potion from the cauldron. Potion, take a look. Ready? Ready. You have enough power to brew a potent potion. Okay. Can it be the other way around? Look at him! His little tiny arms and legs. A green flash illuminated the room. It became a symbol of something new, of a new companion. Henry rose into the air and spun around. I watched as the toad's legs slowly transformed into human limbs, as the sleek skin took on a new form, a new hue, and the crocs turned into a very human. Let's see. My toad was no more. In his place stood a young man. Naked. Okay. Croak. I mean, hello. Hello. He's cute, but nothing more. He stood there naked, forgetting to cover himself, or perhaps not knowing he should. Well then, not bad, you have no shame. Cover yourself. Not bad. I winked at him, but my former toad froze confused. Is something wrong? Everything is fine, but at least cover yourself with your hands. We've been through a lot together, but not enough for that level of familiarity. Oh, my apologies. She's even getting shy. Oh god, Henry. I can't believe you're actually embarrassed. You're the one who should be embarrassed, staring at a former toad like that. I was just checking to make sure everything transformed properly. Yeah. Oh, so that's what it's called now. I think I understand now. He waved his hand and clothes appeared on him almost instantly. Oh, nice. Croak. I haven't forgotten how to do that. I hope you remember that you're a young man now, not a toad. No more croaking. Oh what? Will I face execution? Catching flies is still allowed, I assume. I don't have time for jokes, Sebastian. That's your name for now. You do remember why we're here, what we need. I do. I studied him closely and decided it was best to explain everything once more. Explain it thoroughly. I'll repeat the details since you might have forgotten something. Let's make sure everything is going according to plan. We're in Stratford, a town practically ruled by Puritans. Yes, our Queen Elizabeth is Protestant, but she doesn't persecute Catholics with such fervor. Not everyone is happy with this. Some Protestants disagree with her reforms. Their stricter beliefs give rise to Puritan communities. No entertainment, no poetry, only pray on neighbor. None of this would matter to us if not for the artifact you're searching for. I'm pleased with your memory. Precisely, the artifact was created by a prominent figure of Protestantism. And I must kill his descendant, the priest Ralph. I waved my hands, conjuring an illusion of Ralph. Ralph doesn't exhibit the fanaticism typical to others in this hospital. When I speak with him, I see a good man, not a zealous witch hunter. That surprised me. He's not what I expected from a Puritan. Rogers and Henry also work in the hospital, assisting with the rituals. Rogers and the NPC Henry. They're cruel. I saw them torment the innocent Cordelia. I remember Edward and Edmund. They'll need watching. Correct. Don't forget the other inhabitants of Stratford. Iago, who loves making accusations, is friends with Othello. Some consider Othello mad, and his wife is suspected of witchcraft. The lives of these people would mean nothing to us normally. Let them spiral into madness on their own. However, the artifact could be influencing this town. And that means any of the disturbed could lead us to it. Just as anyone could be a sorcerer, seeking the same thing as I am. I know not yet what the artifact is, but oft I find my words taking shape in rhyme. It's a quill. I find myself recalling strange lines. Could it be a quill? Parchment. It's a quill. Only the forest can help reveal the truth. The longer I can stay there, the easier it will be. Your choice will affect the story. I'll help you. I'll distract people, the men, while you're in the forest. I'll try to follow someone, to be your eyes and ears. Thank you, that's exactly what this is all for. So what is the choice? Oh, I told him everything in detail. Okay. You'll join me at the ball. I've informed Lord Leicester I won't be alone. He didn't ask questions, which might have surprised me before, but not now. Later, I'll transform into a man and head to the forest. That would be interesting. Fine. Will you be dressing up? Need help? I'll manage. Naughty little frog. Scarlet Rose. Not bad actually. Mysterious lady. That's strange. But the color is nice. The green, the queen. I feel like this is all too much. Joanna Sedley. This is not bad. Snow Queen. Let's get everything. Just in case. Now, Snow Queen. Let's do this one. The purple one. Okay, Snow Queen. It's kinda green hue. That's weird. Mysterious Lady, not bad. Elizabeth. Crimson Rose. Black Arrow. Let's get everything. Maybe we'll change the dress for this whale. Because, I don't know. Maybe this one? For this dress in particular. Well, you look wonderful. Thank you. Perhaps we would have continued teasing each other like that. It's not for the time. We needed to get to a masquerade. An event where dozens of people would smile, lie, vie for favor, and boast. I wonder what is your man form. The ball was held at one of Stratford's estates. Surprisingly, the hall wasn't just filled with wealthy merchants and Dudley's associates, but also ordinary townsfolk. It was clear the Earl of Leicester was using the event to observe, to uncover something. For the first time in ages, I heard music and saw couples dancing. Stratford-upon-Avon had transformed from a somber town into a grand celebratory haven. I wanted to close my eyes and lose myself in the moment, but my mission was far more important than any revelry. I observed, not everyone wore masks, and I removed mine as well. Regina, my lady? She looked different, and it suited her. It was as if she had blossomed. It is a pleasure to see you. I take it you were responsible for the dishes on the table. I was. Joanne praised my culinary skills and put in a kind word for me. I'm sure your pies are delightful. You haven't had a chance to try them yet? Not yet. She glanced nervously at my companion. Henry, behave yourself. This is Sebastian Wyatt. He serves the Earl of Leicester. Good evening, my lord. Good evening. She doesn't believe it. His sly smile could have disarmed anyone, but Regina looked at him with suspicion. Her golden eyes seemed to ignite. She frowned. Yeah, she doesn't believe it. My lady, I think it's best I take my leave. Wait. I stopped her. Oh my god, is this romance? I thought it's friendship. My hand gently touched her wrist. It rested where her pulse beat softly beneath her skin. Oh, god damn it. You're so nervous. This place isn't for me. But I wish it to be. I noticed her hands balling into fists. The delicate, fragile young woman with curly hair presently looked like a warrior. Perhaps it will be. I can't tie my life to a nobleman for the sake of wealth. Maybe I can achieve something on my own. She reached for me, wrapping her arms around me in a tentative embrace. No, don't do that, please. I returned to embrace, allowing myself to be enveloped by the calm of the moment, marveling at the strength with which she held me, marveling at myself. Who was Regina? Why did I trust her? Why was she even in that town? My lady, you're not like everyone else. But I'll prove to you that I'm not like those who live here either. Yeah, we know you're a cat. I see that. I understand. Do you regret coming here? Not at all. I looked at her, and for a moment my gaze filled with tenderness. I even wanted to take her with me, to teach her what I knew. Could she become a witch? I think she could. No! Fuck. Regina doesn't intrigue me. Regina was about to leave when suddenly Gail, another woman from the kitchen staff, came rushing over. They say word is spreading. Have you heard? What exactly were we supposed to have heard? In the forest, they found a cross and parchment with poetry, and a terrible dark shadow almost killed the sheriff. We need to warn everyone. Just what I need. Extra attention on the forest. Who told you that? I served one of the sheriff's men. I think, my lady, you should tell Joanne and the others. She will tell them, Gail, but I am so frightened, and I cannot bear to be alone. Please come with me to the kitchen. I am too scared to go by myself. Well then, with you so timid, I suppose I'm the only brave one here. Regina is pretending, but why? To help you. You're hiding something too, little lamb, little cat. Better to say. They wandered off toward the kitchen while my companion headed for the center of the hall. Where are you going? Helping you. While I distract the crowd, listen to their conversations. It wasn't just the cook who heard about this, trust me. There's a chance to learn more. And how exactly do you plan to distract them? Oh, darling, I've never enjoyed being a prince, but a fool, that I was born for. With a quick snap of his fingers, a jester's hat appeared on his head. Then he laughed loudly, dashed over to the musicians, and grabbed the lute. They didn't even have time to protest before the newly minted jester began to sing. The king commands, wed swiftly, sir. I smile but still delay. A wife most fair doth none prefer, yet love holds me at bay. The crowd started whispering, but most joined in, singing and dancing along. I pretend to follow their lead, all the while straining to catch fragments of useful conversation. Rogers. Parchment in the forest, written on, incomprehensible. Shakespeare comes along, and everything changes. We need to deal with him. What if he's tied to the Catholics, and now he's mocking us through his craft? We need to search homes. Anyone with verses could be linked to the sorcerer. That's not proof at all. It's definitely witchcraft. I need to hide my parchment before it's too late. I moved further along. Othello, pull yourself together. You're not at fault. You weren't in the forest last night. But what if I was Desdemona? I thought I saw her following someone in a fine cloak. Heading towards the forest, I ran after her. What if I'm the cause of it all? It's not you, it's Edmund, that cursed pirate. He's the one who won't let me rest. He devours your wife with his eyes. And have you heard what they are saying about Edward? I hid behind a column, straining to catch every word. What do they say about Edward? Learn well to woo a woman's heart and love her, never stray. Bow lightly, kiss her hand with art. This cherished love holds sway. Betrayal's bitter. Heed my plea, be true, and love her faithfully. My, such interesting views he has. But what was that about Edward? Why isn't he here? Thanks to your powers, you've learned something interesting. He returned to me and whispered. Othello and Jacob were talking about Edward. Your Edward. Don't be ridiculous. This brunette plays with hearts. First Cordelia, now he's after Desdemona. Nonsense. Although, perhaps it wasn't. Mr. Pembroke had his own agenda. The figure in the dark cloak could very well have been him, yes. Because he's a cultist. I'll find him and get to the truth. Get to the truth. Get to the truth. The words painfully in my mind. I didn't want to weave my way through the townsfolk secrets. I didn't want to think about poetry or the possessed. People always assume magic makes things easier. Magic complicates everything, and just then, as I breathed in the fragrance of flowers, standing in a decorated hall, I listened to whole conversations, searching for anyone who might lead me to the artifact. My lady, it's a pleasure to see you here. Are you waiting for someone? Where is Mr. Pembroke? Where is Othello? Where is Mr. Pembroke? I haven't seen him yet, which strikes me as odd. I smiled shyly, feigning a touch of infatuation. That sort of gesture never seems to arouse suspicion. Mr. Pembroke is probably in the library. He's always there. Perhaps he's the one working for M, searching for the artifact. He is. I'm not sure if for M, but he hides something. Barely suppressing a laugh, I smiled again. Well, that's probably for the best. Mr. Pembroke is a strict man. Dancing is the last thing on his mind. Many ladies find it appealing. He catches plenty of admiring glances. Come on, think Jacob. Assume I'm smitten too. I think I'll step out. I can't seem to find Othello. He mentioned getting some fresh air. Me too, to search for Edmund and perhaps check in on Edward. Maybe let's change. While we are at it, the Queen. Maybe this one? And Ralph. My erstwhile toad glanced at me and without words understood what I intended to do. He was to stay and I was to leave. He would listen and later he would tell me everything. Before following Jacob, I cast a quick glance around the hall one last time. And I noticed Robert Dudley. He was looking at me? He was looking at me. Oh god. He wasn't wearing a mask, yet he stood apart from the crowd, observing everyone lost in his own thoughts. I approached him because I knew it was necessary. It was the best course of action. Good evening. I will need to slip away to carry out my plans. No, let's change because this is ridiculous. It's too grand. This dress. Yeah. Oh god. He stepped closer and I caught the heady scent of wine. A hazy passion lingered in his dark eyes, veiled with a subtle thread. I wonder, will you manage it? I will. And then he moved even closer, pinning me against the column. Did I just romance him? Is this even a possibility? Everything around us seemed to freeze. The crowd faded into nothing. I could feel only the pounding of my heart and the consuming gaze of Robert Dudley. Holy shit. And if you fail? His hand reached for my neck, brushing my skin. Firmly, with authority and no hesitation. Accustomed to possessing many women, perhaps he'd decided to add a witch to his collection. Oh my god. I can manage. I turned away and stepped behind the column, softly inviting Dudley to follow me. What's happening? But he didn't, as I expected. Accustomed to holding the Queen's heart, he knew that one must always be prepared for anything. Never lose sight of the goal, never yield to passion, never give in. Yet the intrigue in his gaze stirred a similar thought in me. I could use his desire, should the need arise. You intend to exploit the weakness in the future, his weakness in the future, damn right I am. Outside, surrounded by men, Edmund stood proudly. He was looking at Othello strangely, with a mocking, condescending sneer. I hate him so much. Then repeat what you said. Othello hesitated, clearly not expecting all eyes to turn on him. Othello, you don't have to say anything. No, I'll say it. Leave my wife alone. He raised his hand as if to strike, but caught only air. Wife? Your wife? Edmund! My senses told me from the very first episode that you're a fuckboy, and you're the most fuckboyest from all the fuckboys. Edmund burst into laughter and stepped forward. Poor Desdemona needs peace, not endless accusations. Have you even ever considered doing something other than spying on your wife? I'll deal with you right now. That's kinda none of your business, Edmund. Well, yeah. Edmund's vanity is beginning to bear fruit. Oh, that's because I did something wrong. I awakened his sin. Enraged, Othello lunged at Edmund, trying to strike him, but the pirate was quicker. You wouldn't believe how many like you I thrown overboard. Grabbing Othello by the collar, Edmund gave him a light kick. A madman, ready to act foolish out of jealousy. You, I'll kill you, I'll strangle you with my bare hands. Edmund merely grasped his fists and lowered them. This is a shit show. Listen to what he's saying, look at him and consider the situation. Perhaps those dead young men had merely glanced at Desdemona and paid for it with their lives. No, how he provokes. Are we really so alike? You're wrong. Silence, or the Earl of Leicester will quickly decide who's in the right and who's not. That patronage doesn't give you permission to act like an asshole. I'm tired of you and your foolish town. You're destroying yourselves with suspicion, lies and jealousy. I'd rather sleep than listen to your chatter. Then go sleep. Smiling, he glanced at me before turning and walking away. For a few moments the man stood there, clearly stunned, staring at Othello. But then... You've disgraced us before the Earl of Leicester's men, before someone who could write to London. The Queen is already furious with our town for its Puritan devotion, but now you've done it. Perhaps we were wrong to let you go free. Perhaps you're the murderer. If that's the case, then prove it. He grinned madly, trying to unsettle Henry. But in an instant he bolted and ran off. Scoundrel! After him, everyone! And of course the man obeyed. I remained where I was, hidden behind a tree. The night was cold and endless. I could transform into a man immediately, or I could... go to Edward. Of course. Why are you hiding in the library, even on a night like this? Detached, always observing me, closely tied to Shakespeare. Why hadn't I considered that you might be the sorcerer? And only you, Edward Pembroke. Walking briskly, I reached the hospital and finally allowed myself to stop, taking a moment to study every stone, every window. It had once been the estate of an influential family, but what had happened? Why did Edward stay there instead of going to London? I had no answers to those questions, but I doubted I'd get them, even if I asked. Still, it was worth trying. It is worth just speaking to him. Anyway, he was seated in the depths of the room, as usual, bent over a hefty tome. To be or not to be? That is the question. He was speaking aloud to himself, unaware of my presence. To be? Somehow I knew you'd come. Are you so used to people always seeking you out. And if I am. He rose and began to approach me slowly. In the dim light, his eyes weren't grey, but as dark as the midnight river. But he was wearing a mask. You meant to reply differently, but couldn't resist and struck me sharp with your words instead. I was merely teasing, my lady. I'm not accustomed to breaking hearts. It seemed that he was joking then. I knew you'd come because this town unsettles you. Its secrets, everything happening here, it awakens something long forgotten in you. But you shouldn't pursue it, my lady, trust me. He knows something is up. He gently took my hand, and that was when I couldn't hold back any longer. I took his hand and gently stroked it, pouring all my tenderness into that touch. I simply wanted to see you. To dance a volta with you, to glimpse the feelings hidden beneath that impenetrable mask you refuse to remove. Consider it removed tonight. It's still there, so were you actually planning to attend? I was only amusing myself. Why do you live here instead of in London, as befits a man of noble birth? Maybe he put the mask to go in the forest and kill someone. With the mask and the cloak, you know, not to be recognized. This place was important to my father, and I promised myself I would preserve it. That I would watch over it and ensure Stratford didn't sink completely into darkness. Somehow I don't believe you. Is that why you support Shakespeare? Do you believe art can help? I do. And you wish to find a murderer? Aye, my lady. I believe you mentioned wanting to do this. He pulled away from me again as he thought, but I understood that dancing would only bring us closer. So, would you grant me a dance? A volta, here in the empty library, where there are no others, only us. There are. I placed my hand on his shoulder and looked into his eyes. There are your suspicions, my doubts, and our shared desire to put each other in our respective places. Let's forget it all now, just for a moment. He spoke against my ear, leaning closer, his presence becoming more intimate, drawing nearer. There was no music, it was within us. At first we moved smoothly, following the steps, adhering to the rules, but gradually our dance grew heated. It turned into a longing, our shared longing for each other. Who were we? Why was I drawn to him, and he to me? Because I paid for it. Why did his scent seem so familiar, and his smile, ever so slightly, feel like home? You're walking on a fine line, my lady. Why are you doing this? Why do you ask me these questions? I'm concerned. I don't believe you. You shouldn't. But I think I was lying. In those strong arms, I was thawing. I believed his words because his eyes echoed them, because our lips were far too close to each other. And then, I closed my eyes and slipped into an illusion. I imagined kissing Edward. His lips were warm, his kisses commanding. But within that kiss there was tenderness. I could sense that we both cared, that he cared. A cutscene? Oh. This is what she's imagining, and this is what's happening on the right. I gripped him with my hands, while his hand rested on my waist. So beautiful. I didn't want the illusion to end. And how strange it was that even in my dreams I couldn't imagine anything more. The passion, it was within me, burning me from the inside out. and did the closeness of that imposing, brooding man, as did. But in that moment, to me, he was different, as though I had known him for most of my life. Now we get to read from Edward's perspective. Nice. Edward. What is he imagining? Show us, show us. Oh, to be or not to be. To allow myself to feel or not. That woman had arrived at the worst time, turning everything I had planned upside down. Why was she there? He was planning something. He says it with his words. Why was she there? Was I right in how I felt about her? Women like her are not to be trusted, and yet I trusted her. I held her closer, feeling her heartbeat. How she leaned into me, wanting more. Closing my eyes, I saw us together. That's very beautiful. My hands gripping her body, our lips entwined. And there was no longer a question of to be or not to be. Only to be. To feel that woman. To spin her in a dance. To forget, if only for a moment, what I knew. What do you know? That I knew who she truly was. He knows. He knows. But I tried to pretend it didn't matter to me anymore. Wow. That was beautiful. Path of the Curse. Awakening from what I felt like a dream, I leaned closer to Edward, running my finger along his lower lip. I won't yield to you. I'm not trying to make you. But I noticed, I sensed his reaction to me. His uneven breath, his intense gaze, the pounding of his heart. It couldn't be called trust, it was only desire. But that was in my favor. Desire was always easier to manipulate than trust. I was glad I had come. I had felt him, memorized him. That could be useful later. I don't like her thoughts. You're always calculating. Okay. How long it's been since I last danced like this? I'm glad to have given you these feelings. You know how to be romantic. I suppose next you'll ask if I know how to love? Am I that predictable? I wouldn't say that. What is love? What is love? Sorry. Madness born of intoxication? Love is the ability to wait, to hope for a reunion even when it all seems meaningless and impossible. Playing with fire, leading into a blaze. That's what love is. I stifled a small yawn and stretched delicately, feigning tiredness. I'll escort you. Thank you. That was quite something. He walked me to my room, pausing at the doorway to speak. My lady, it's a pleasure spending time with you, but it would be better for us both to keep our distance. Yeah, I don't want another Joanne shit show. And for you not to try to uncover what's truly happening in this town. I might disobey you. Yeah, we are not agreeing on that. Then it will end badly. Because you're involved. You'll come to know my cruelty. Better believe him when he says it. That he's cruel. Good night. Your relationship has nonetheless improved. Yeah, he's the villain, I think. Or one of the villains. The forest. The forest was cold and noisy. The trees, or the wind, or perhaps something else, greeted me with a low rumble. I spoke the incantation and immediately transformed into a man. Let's see this. Oh, okay. Oh, how do we even put up with this body? The moment I moved forward, I bumped into another man. And who might he be? I said nothing. I said who you are. Too many strangers creeping around here lately. I'm so sick of you, all of you. I shoved him aside and ran deeper into the forest. Let Henry remember me, let him chase me. Tomorrow I would be myself again. And if needed to transform once more, I'd come up with something. I ran and ran, feeling my anger build. When will I find the artifact? Who serves M? M. Conjure M. Hello. Oh, you're all dressed up. M's claw held a sprig of heather. Heather, a symbol of immortality and youth. You didn't choose this place by chance, did you? Perhaps. M's voice was soft, rustling like the wind, reminiscent of a hiss. The first time I'd heard it, my body was covered in the cold prickles of fear. Every word pressed into me, carved itself into my mind as if leaving a mark. But then I listened calmly, intently. I even found myself liking the timbre of it. I also liked how Morgana could destroy or praise with just a single sentence. Her clawed hand rested on my waist, her talons digging in just enough to cause a faint, lingering pain. But M's embrace had long ceased to be the most terrifying aspect of our bond. You are my beautiful, restless monster. One that cannot even fathom how much power lies within. I often turn a blind eye. That tail coiled around my leg, gentle yet cautioning. Just some of your liberties. She ran what I felt like either a hand or a claw around my neck, along my neck. But I won't always be so merciful. She effortlessly turned me toward her in mid-air, forcing me to look at her. How many times had I seen her in that form? Yet never, never as a human. When will you show me your true form? I emphasized the final word, pouring all my courage and fury into it. I wasn't afraid of him anymore, but the trembling, a trace of it still lingered. Morgana smirked, revealing sharp, elongated fangs. Her voice dropped even lower. She was no longer speaking, but hissing. Staring straight at me, she replied, "And who are you to behold it? You're just another amusement of mine. Do you even deserve such a courtesy?" She destroyed me with those words, asserting her superiority and my insignificance. Don't hesitate. Kill the boy. Only then will new horizons reveal themselves to you. I don't know about that. About killing him. And then the vision faded, as if it had never been. But was it truly just a vision? I pressed forward. Faces and phrases flashed through my mind, and the anger inside me grew sharper and clearer. And then... it's Edmund! He was lying against a tree, with that very same black cat rubbing against him. Okay. Hi. I knew you couldn't be trusted. I stepped toward him when suddenly... okay, the same shadow appears. So Edmund is definitely not the cat. Obvious. It was obvious. Regina might be the cat. Regina is his familiar. Maybe. Quickly, over here! Someone killed Henry! Someone killed Henry! Oh my god. I said in the previous episodes that NPC Henry must go. I think I have the power of the curse, as well as Lenore. Quiet, quiet. What's going on? A painfully familiar male voice whispered into my ear. Gotcha. I did warn you. Henry is dead, and here you are. Well, my lady, it's time for you to confess. Seize the witch. Whoa. Okay. As we are approaching the end of the season, I think what will happen, my predictions, that they will try to burn Lenore, Roxanne, on a stick, but it will be at the full moon, you know? The full moon will be there, and she will transform, I don't know, into a werewolf or what she's talking about, her curse or something like that, and will escape the stake and will not be burned. That would be a cool reveal, but that's only my prediction, so for now, we have what we have. So here are my stats. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!